The court has granted bail to Omoyele Sowore in Abuja today. So in this video, we look at the conditions of the bail, we look at the 2 million bail bond, we look at the legal implication, and then we look at the consequences of his inability to meet the bail conditions. Okay, we look at all of that in this video. So this is Sowore in court, okay, sandwiched by his lawyers, okay, at the Federal High Court today. So the bail that was granted is in respect of the alleged cybercrime charges that have been presented against him at the Federal High Court. Remember, the allegation is that he made a publication on his X handle and called President Bola Ahmed Tinubu criminal, right? So he has been granted bail. Remember that the bail had been revoked not long ago, and then today the court has granted him bail with a new set of conditions. The bail conditions are far more stringent this time around. I think in the last grant of bail, he was granted bail on self-recognizance. He did not need to go through all of these conditions. But in today's grant of bail to him by the court has made the following conditions, which are, far more stringent. Number one, he is to execute a bail bond of 200 million naira with two shorties in like sum. 200 million naira, two shorties in like sum. Two, he is to deposit his international passport with the deputy chief registrar of the court. Three, one of the shorties must be a traditional ruler from his community, right? And the other shorty must have landed property in Abuja. Okay, so we ask, is Sowore expected to pay the 200 million naira before he's allowed to go? Is he expected to pay today if he wants to go today before he's allowed to go? Here is the answer. The answer is no. He is not expected to pay, right? Sowore is not going to deposit the 200 million naira to the court before he can be allowed to go. He's not going to do that. All what he's expected to do is to find two shorties, maybe his friends or associates, who can convince the court that they each possess financial assets or property up to the tune of 200 million naira per shorty. Two shorties in like sum, right? Now, even the shorties that are to take him on bail are not expected to pay this money in cash to the courts. None of them is expected to pay, right? Before Sowore can leave. It is just a bond. A bond is a promise that you must keep, because you are making a promise before the court, you are signing an affidavit to that effect, you are doing it on oath, and you are expected to pay. But unlike what some persons think, that when the court pronounces a bail sum you must pay before you go, you are not expected to pay the cash before you go. Now, what does it mean to say in like sum? It simply means that both shorties are required to independently possess wealth or real estate valued at a minimum of 200 million naira each. Each person must have assets that is valued in a minimum of 200 million naira each. Note that the shorties must also sign a legal undertaking promising to forfeit the 200 million naira each to the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria if Sowore runs away. If he doesn't make himself available for trial anymore, that is when the shorties will come to fulfill the bond they had accepted to pay, in the event of the non-appearance of Sowore. Now, there's something that looks like the real hurdle here for me, going through the conditions of bail. The real hurdle for me is that one of the shorties must be a traditional ruler from Sowore's community. One of the shorties, traditional ruler. Okay? This is just an example of a traditional ruler. This one represents the Benin Kingdom. Okay? So, one of the shorties must be a traditional ruler from Sowore's community, while the other must own verified landed property in Abuja. Sowore would need to reach out to a traditional ruler in his own community to come over to Abuja and sign the papers for his bail and depose to bond of 200 million naira assets. For me, this looks like what's going to be a hurdle for Sowore in this matter. It might not be. If the conditions are not fulfilled, what will happen? Right? Now, the danger there will be that Sowore will remain in prison custody until he is able to fulfill the conditions of bail. You see the case of El-Rufai. El-Rufai is still in custody. One of the reasons why El-Rufai is still in custody is that the prosecution is saying that he has not yet fulfilled the conditions of bail. El-Rufai has even gone to court to ask for variation, which I understand today that the court has denied that variation. Okay. So if Sowore is unable to fulfill the conditions of bail, the danger is that Sowore remains in custody until such time that his bail conditions will be fulfilled. Note that he can as well approach the court, can go back to the same court with an application for variation of the bail terms, right? To make it easy for him to meet. Can go back to the court through his counsel and say, my lord, the bail terms you give, they're too much. Two shorties, 2 million naira, 200 million naira, traditional ruler and all of that. My lord, it is too much. Vary it for me. Note that the discretion to vary is that of the judge and the judge alone. If the judge varies and Sowore meets the new bail terms, then he will leave the prison and go home. However, if the judge refuses to vary the bail terms, Sowore remains in prison custody. That's the law. But note that Sowore has a right of appeal to the Court of Appeal if there is no variation. He has a right to go to the Court of Appeal and challenge the refusal of the judge to vary the terms of bail and then make legal arguments. If he is able to convince the Court of Appeal, the Court of Appeal can vary the bail terms for him. Can vary, stay in the Court of Appeal, vary it, and then he fulfills the shorter bail conditions granted by the Court of Appeal, and then he goes home and then attends court from home. If the Court of Appeal refuses to vary, he has a further right of appeal to the Supreme Court. The days ahead will be very interesting. Many thanks always for watching.